Hey there, goblins.
Hey, Habibi.
Welcome to Goblin Salvage Rights. My name's Robert.
And I'm Eric.
And today we're talking about
Being the most interesting goblins in the world.
rituals.
Or
Top
that.
10 rituals found in Pathfinder 2nd edition. 5 for me, 5 for Eric. Eric almost died today, so I can't give him the skull glass. That would be
Twice.
bad juju.
That would be tempting the thing from up on high.
Yes. Drinking more just rum.
Yep.
Aged 2 years, American White Oak.
Pimp it, yo.
It's our newest product. It's delicious. You can't buy any because we're sold out. Too bad.
Yep.
Cry.
These are teaser glasses because we're teasing you.
Absolutely. Cheers, my friend.
Let's toast to the fact that I'm not fucking splattered on the freeway.
Eric almost died while driving.
Twice. Within the same, 200 feet.
Absolutely wild.
Here's to short life.
Yeah.
And fear.
Here's to shortening our lives, right? Yeah, so rituals. Very, very interesting topic.
Yep.
We kind of touched on it on our last episode, which is pretty cool.
We did. We've been flirting with the idea of doing rituals for some time now because we've been talking about spells, spell effects, and it just sort of feels like we're about ready. We didn't really know anything about rituals. For the last, 3 or 4 years, this edition's been running around. We kind of have been just giving it side eye or ignoring it altogether.
Absolutely. So now we kind of took a little bit of a deep dive, a little break from doing product reviews to talk about rituals. Before we jump into today's topic, though, I want to thank some patrons.
3 of you.
Yes, got 2 new ones, which are
Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
And Adam. Yo.
Adam, I think you've been a patron for a while. I can't remember. I couldn't find in my records if we've ever thanked you. So just in case we haven't, here's a double thanks.
Yeah, and if we thanked you twice, that means you're ahead.
Exactly. And you have a really cool vampire as your thing on Discord.
Yep, Avatar
on Discord.
Avatare, as
Kyle
you could
is
say.
actually the one running our new...
Kyle's a damn rock star
play-by-post.
right now because he's
Yeah.
letting me write books worth of text
Oh my God,
for my
Eric.
little cartoon character with dice.
So are you going to talk about, when we talk about what we played, is that what you're going to talk about now?
Oh, God, how much time do I have
Oh
here?
my God.
I'll split the difference between the two. So
Okay.
what did we do for Edgewatch? Because that's kind of what I do in this segment. One of my key players was gone for the week, and I really, really needed him to be there because this is his shining moment to be had. So I ran a secondary adventure, which was basically a group of 6-year-old halflings at a slumber party. And just like in Goonies, they kind of busted out and they ran across town to go look at the horse that one of them said they had. So it's basically a birthday party that went late into the night. And instead of going to sleep like they were supposed to, they climbed out the window due to this guy here and then snuck their way across town.
That was because of Jacques.
Yeah.
Jacques was like, hey, let's break out the window. And then he pointed at me, the rogue.
Right.
And I was just like...
So 6-year-old halflings blaming each other for all the
I will
shenanigans
pick the lock.
continues into the real world.
Eric calls these vignettes, by the way.
Yeah, this was a
Vignettes.
it was an actual adventure. This one had a beginning, a middle, and an end. It had a rising action, had a series of complications, turning points. It wasn't really a vignette, which was kind of a shame because you've never done one of my vignettes, and this was supposed to be that opportunity.
It's basically a vignette. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Okay.
It's a very long
Words don't
vignette.
matter.
Very long vignette.
So that was that, and that was a good time because everybody got to basically regress to their 6th year of life, and then, what would I have been like if I was a child barbarian, a child rogue, a child ranger with a stinky cockatrice,
Cockatrice, yeah.
and so on and so forth. So that was a good time. Any words on that one before I jump to Edgewatch?
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, you loved it. Good.
I had so much fun.
It doesn't always work.
It was like I was playing just a random rogue. There were some very well-written edicts and anathemas at the bottom, which were basically to me...
With a smashing tiara.
Yeah, I was basically do these things. This is your character. I love that. The idea of just having 3
I gave everybody
statements.
3 edicts and anathemas.
Yeah, 3 statements on what you should be doing as a player is perfect for me.
Yeah, and did it make you was it good just for that experience, or did it make you kind of go, what about my other characters that I have out there? Maybe they should have something similar to this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I almost liked the idea of someone else writing them for me.
It's kind of different. Yeah. You do all the crunch and you do the stuff you used to.
Yeah.
And then somebody says, this is the shit you actually care about.
And I kind of like that because we a lot of times in life we don't actually write our personality. Our personality is
they get written for us.
Exactly. It's kind of a reflection of our experiences, right? We try to drive the car, but really we're passengers telling the driver to turn left or turn right.
Dude, I'm still shucking the duct tape from the trunk.
Yeah,
That's my life.
So I really like the idea of maybe like writing one edict and the DM writing 2 anathema or 2 edicts.
Yeah, or just like if you guys trust each other, or even more fun if you don't, just like have the other players each pick one they write for you. And we're all basically doing, everybody walks away with 3 or 4, edicts, or 3 and 1, One person gets to be the douchebag of the group.
Well, that also gives a lot of agency to their players. So you have to kind of trust them or be the kind of person who's willing to play a character you're given and not the character you want to bring to the table. Because a lot of players have this idea in their mind. They got to go run with it.
Right.
But a lot of times in life, man, it's easier to just let go and just enjoy the ride.
I think it's a cool idea.
Yeah,
I might try it next time I make something. So that was the Edgewatch experience. The other thing I did was, what the hell did we just do? Oh, the play-by post for Rise of the Rune Lords.
Yeah.
Kicked up in the Discord. So if you want to be a fly on the wall for that, maybe you've never seen a play-by post, you don't know what it is. I mean, it sounds like it's pretty straightforward, but there's a lot to it. Come down and be a lurker, watch. And in there are certain channels where I think you can post in. I don't know. Kyle's can tell us. So yeah, go all the way down to the bottom of the Discord. Check us out because this is a ton of fun. It's basically narrative-based role-playing. Yeah. And then every now and again, our GM is like, hey, this happens. I need you to roll something. And you'll get to see how that presents through the Discord font using the bot that we use. And the exciting thing about this, besides getting to do a text-based role-playing game for me, because that's where my heart is if I learn how to participate within it, maybe I can learn how to run one later.
That would be rad.
And that's kind of cool because there's so many players out here in Pathfinder 2nd Edition land that aren't GMs.
Yeah, totally.
This might be a way to do it. If you don't have like people living in your neighborhood, you can do it at the table.
And you don't have the time for like a VTT or like you and your friends are all over the world and you want to play with each other, but you don't have the time slot that makes sense.
Or the dedicated time slot. Yeah. Like I can do this every night before bed because I go to bed at different times every day.
Yeah, totally.
I can't always make the 6 o'clock every other Thursday kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So it's really cool. So thank you, Kyle, for being awesome and for giving me the chance to play out my first not Arcanist, but Alchemist. I'm doing a heal bomb Arcanist.
Alchemist?
I am. I'm giving a shot. I even bought special dice for this. They're metal dice.
What?
And they have little cherry blossom trees on them. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's crazy.
Well, I was a little nervous to tell you because it's an Alchemist, but it's also a heal bomb Alchemist.
Yeah, totally.
I'm totally going down on the the battle medicine and the heal bomb and all that stuff. And he's also going to be a gunslinger for his archetype.
Oh, cool.
So I'd like to find a way, if it's possible, to work him in sort of like a grenadier kind of a thing. I don't know if you can feat your way into that, but that's sort of like the long-term goal. Like
Grenadier
heal bombs
is like another option you could have taken instead of heal bombs. You can still throw bombs pretty well, but had you taken the Grenadier option for Alchemist, you would have been able to ignore other, like your friendlies that are next to people because of the splash damage and stuff like that.
I want to be able to build a machine that launches these heal bombs across a football field and then, does healy stuff.
I don't actually know if there's a bomb launcher yet in the game.
I don't think there is, but there needs to be. I mean, if we can throw fucking fireworks all over the sky,
totally.
we can throw heal bombs. So that's my alchemist / gunslinger is working towards that dream. So we'll see.
Yeah. There's the way that the system is designed currently. Well, no, item bonuses don't stack. So I guess
there's also the soldier in Starfinder 2nd Edition that right now is being play tested. Yeah, and that's their thing. Their long range firearms experts.
Yeah, totally.
So there might be something like that. So maybe instead of gunslinger, I can be soldier.
Ooh,
2nd Edition alchemist soldier.
Now you're dipping into uncharted waters. Yeah, totally. That sounds awesome.
So that's what I played this past week. Did we do Kingmaker at all?
We did Kingmaker 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
I can't remember if we actually recorded an episode since then, but just to catch everyone up, a troll, they tied up all of the loose ends. They tied up a bunch of loose ends with like a infestation of hag worshipping the sisterhood of traveling hags.
Baby killers.
Baby killers. I got super grimdark on them.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes,
then,
you did.
They tied up all that, and then right as the pacing was beginning to slow down, they were doing I remember. There is a the DMs out there who've run Kingmaker will know what I'm talking about. There's a mysterious yellow-orange gnome that is mysterious, and I threw it out as a hook, a light hook, and the players tugged really hard on it, and I was doing my best to let them have fun with it, but I also know that I wanted the story to drive itself in a different direction. Towards the main plot.
Okay.
So while they were set up to investigate and try and trick this mischievous gnome, they were basically he keeps eating people's food, which I think is hilarious. So they set out a big feast to try and lure him. Yep. And right as they were setting up their trap and having the feast, and people around town were coming together and celebrating the mystery that they just solved, there was a big crash from the edge of town, and everyone ran to go find out what happened. And it turns out a troll is attacking the town. And this is kind of like the inciting incident.
And then attacked us.
Yeah, this is the inciting incident for the next chapter.
The troll arc, as it were.
It's literally called Troll Trouble.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a really big moment for the players. They're fighting monsters that have very fast regeneration. They have to learn and prepare a siege basically on trolls.
Recall knowledge type stuff is more important here than we've allowed it to be in previous sessions.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is really cool too, because I'm the fighter, right? The sword and board fighter who likes to go in two-handed.
Yeah. And
prior to this session, I was used to just running up there and getting in their face so that they couldn't go anywhere, buying my compadres time to situate and get where they need to be.
Totally.
So I would basically sacrifice a few hits on myself to get them a round or so to position. I didn't do that this time. And I happened to get last in the initiative order.
Yeah.
And one of the other players, Jacques, just fucking Leroy Jenkins right towards the troll. Fully expecting me to use my turn to get in front of him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no!
I use my cool spell.
So I got to the edge of the building and put my shield up.
Yeah. All tactical.
I got some awesomely dirty looks right there.
That was pretty
good.
But
it was a lot of fun. So it was a transitory moment, a moment of transition for all of us in terms of Troll Trouble's new arc and all that, but also my approach to combat. And in my headcanon, I'm sort of in this, I'm turning into a fae creature. And my character doesn't dig on fae because they've caused way too much negative influence in my life. So, but now that I'm becoming one, my head's in a different space, and I'm taking more conservative actions and choices and decisions, and I'm knowing fear more so than I did before.
Interesting.
So I did the shield and the sword first, and got to the corner of the building. And I'm like, get back here, get behind me. And, this massive troll is bigger than anything we've encountered before. This is almost like a Brave New World for all of us.
It's a large creature.
It's kind of cool in the headspace of my character and me as a player. So I don't know if any of that came through, but my character behaved very differently that session than he has in the 4 to 5 levels before that.
Totally.
So I'm enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
I like characters that change. I don't like a character to be the same from level 1 to 20.
Absolutely.
Making the same stupid jokes for 20 levels.
Except for Ront. No, I mean Ront actually changed a lot. Actually, now that I look back at it, he gained so many phobias.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had a great time, and I'm pretty well prepped out. I prepped the whole dungeon and everything between you and the dungeon, and hopefully you guys are going to bite hard on the hook and just run into the dungeon, and we'll do that for a couple sessions.
Yeah, I think we tend to bite hard on everything because if you who do not enjoy GMing go through the trouble to prep something, we kind of want you to enjoy it. So we're like, yes, Robert, give us more. And you're like, I didn't expect you guys to go that hard on that. Shit, how do I back out of this?
Okay.
That's an awkward feeling for a GM. I know it is for me.
Totally.
So for us, I think it would be valuable for us as players to know which ones you want us to chase and which ones you don't. And if there's an unawkward or unobvious way to make that happen, then we should probably do that, because I know we're not the only ones having that issue out there.
It's definitely something to think about. Yeah.
Because you got a lot going on. There's probably 4 or 5 hooks, and you're baiting some of them more heavily than others, and maybe we're not seeing it.
Yeah, totally.
So anyhow.
Cool. So that's what we played. Had a really good time. Let's jump into today's topic.
Rituals.
Top 10 rituals.
Rituals.
So, Erik, what's crazy about rituals?
What is
that
crazy about rituals, Robert?
You don't have to be a spellcaster to cast them.
Do you have to be a spellcaster to be a secondary caster in a ritual?
Not even that.
Really? So you can just show up and like come out of the crab shack with your little bib and start munching on your crab on the way up to the ritual circle.
And so long as the secondary
belch out your
check
components
requires lore crabs, then
you're in. You can participate.
You're in. Absolutely.
That is cool. You don't have to have gone to Hogwarts to cast a ritual.
Absolutely. So let me just like explain really quick for all the goblins in the audience.
How do rituals work?
How rituals work. I got some spark notes here for you. First off, they're all at least uncommon. Rituals are rare things. They're esoteric things in the world. They're all uncommon or rare. Yeah, exactly. There are no common ones.
Get your permission.
They almost all, with a few exceptions, have a GP cost associated with casting the spell.
Resources.
Exactly. The spells that don't have a GP associated with them have other costs associated with them that are equally as important. They're all basically downtime activities.
Yeah.
So no ritual is fast enough to cast. You could never cast a ritual in combat, basically.
Don't they take like an hour a piece or more?
Most of them take about a day, actually. And there are feats and abilities you can take to make them even faster. There are a couple rituals.
Minimum's an hour.
Yeah, minimum's an hour. There's a couple rituals that are an hour, but those are few and far between.
Sure.
The majority of them are at least a day.
Yeah, totally intentional.
Exactly. And like I said, there are feats to cut that down by literally like down to 10% of the original time, or 1/24th the percent. Anyway, fractions. So that's interesting. And so let's talk about the way you cast a ritual. So there are primary checks and secondary checks casted by primary casters and secondary casters. You have to know a ritual in order to be the primary caster, but you don't have to know a ritual in order to be the secondary caster. So the primary caster does the ritual, and at the end of the ritual, they roll a dice and they do a skill check that's listed as the primary skill check of the ritual. And if they succeed, they get the success condition of the spell, just like a normal spell. Except the DC that you're trying to meet is baked into the spell itself. Pretty simple.
Yep. Right out the gate, I hate the fact that they're calling it primary caster because you don't need to have the cast a spell activity access to it in order to do this thing.
But you are casting
so it's confusing
a spell.
already.
It is a little confusing.
Right. You're performing or something.
Yeah, the nomenclature is weird.
Yeah. I just don't want people to get confused out there.
Yeah,
I thought you didn't have to be a wizard. You don't.
You don't have to be a wizard, Harry.
Yeah.
But
you need the skill.
There are also secondary casters required. So there will be a number of secondary checks listed in each ritual. Sometimes there are a few rituals that require secondary casters. And basically the way this works is for every skill that's listed, there is also a person who has to be a secondary caster, and they have to make another check as well. The DC will be listed right then and there. And the way secondary casting works is very straightforward. Secondary casters have to do the secondary casting in order for the spell to be completed. So they're a requirement, just like the primary caster is. But what the checks they succeed against either give them a bonus, no bonus, a penalty, or a reduction in the success. So I'm just going to read these out for all the goblins out there so they understand what I'm talking about. Secondary checks modify the primary as follows. On a critical success, you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to the primary check. I want to reiterate this right now because before we jump into our top 10, I'm going to talk about some class options really quick that you should be looking at and taking and stuff like that. Very important here. Critical successes on secondary castings give you a +2 circumstance bonus to the check. Okay? That's going to come up a lot, so just keep that in mind. A regular success is no bonus or penalty. It's just you've done it. Congratulations. You didn't fuck it up. A failure fucks it up. You take the primary caster takes a -4 circumstance penalty to the primary check. And a critical failure is as failure, and you reduce the degree of success of the primary skill check by 1 step. which is massive. So not only are you getting a -4, which is huge in Pathfinder 2nd edition, but you're also making whatever you did get one step worse.
Yeah, a lot of these rituals are bad juju, and they bounce the fuck back on you.
Most of the rituals, if they fail, nothing happens. But if they critical fail, bad things happen.
Fun things happen.
And I love it. I love it. I love it. So real quick, almost done explaining how rituals work. What I want to point out is that the primary checks for a ritual are usually a very hard DC for a level that's twice the ritual's spell rank. So let's say you're casting a ritual and it's a 2nd level ritual. All of my DMs out there who've played Pathfinder 2nd edition, listen up. There's a chart, and there's 2 charts in your
GM
screen, and in the core GM, which used to be the player, GM core. You know what I'm talking about. The place where GMs go to learn. Because in Unremastered, it was all one book.
Right.
Anyway, so there's 2 charts you got to pay attention to pretty much run any game. DCs by level, super important, because you take the level of the thing, and that's the DC for all its stuff. If you need a hand wave, that's it. You take your party's level, you can throw DCs at them.
Yeah, and for those who may not know, the GM screen, that's also in Archives of Nethys. You can find it.
Absolutely.
So every single one of the tables that's on the GM screen is super, super accessible. Just type in, GM screen on AON.
And
you'll
then
find
there's
it right away.
another chart that basically describes modifiers to that number. So it's not like in editions before where you change the level of the party based on making it easier or worse. You pick the level of the monster, of the party, of whatever it is, and then you modify it. Is this easy? Well, then they get a -2. Is it hard? You get a +2. Is it very hard? We get a +3 or 4. Those are the modifiers right there. They're hard modifiers on a little modifier chart. Very succinct and small. So to get back to the ritual here, most rituals have a spell rank doubled. And remember, most of the time, the spell rank you can cast is half your level rounded up. So this means that basically it's a level that's appropriate to the highest level caster a caster could cast a ritual. And then you take a very hard DC for that level. So oftentimes casting a ritual that's right at your level that you just unlocked, that's right on the money.
It's tricky.
Can be difficult. It will be very hard. Exactly. So because of that, I want to point out some feats and bonuses that our players can use to overcome these things. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them. That would be silly. I want to point out some...
we don't do silly here.
No silly things. But I do want to point out some various patterns that I recognized. +2 circumstance bonuses to cast are very, very common. Every feat that gives you a bonus to doing rituals, they're all the same ability. It's all a +2 circumstance bonus to cast any ritual.
Okay.
Except for one.
I don't suppose you know which one that is.
One of them, only one of them, gives you a +2 status bonus. And this is very rare. It's the only feat. It's the only place in the entire game. I'm actually, it's so rare that I'm kind of convinced whoever wrote it fucked up. It wasn't supposed to be. You
found the zebra.
I'm pretty sure they were like, it was like an oversight or something like that. So anyway, what is this? It's a level 6 feat called Harrow Ritualist. This requires you to take the Harrower dedication at level 2.
Okay.
So level 2, if you're using the ubiquitous and highly recommended by Goblin Salvage Rights free archetype.
It's mandatory. You spelled mandatory wrong.
Okay. You would take Harrower at level 2, you take a cool level 4 feat, and then you'd take this badass feat if you want to do rituals good, which is the Harrower Ritualist. Effectively, it gives you a +2 status bonus to casting rituals. You use your Harrow deck and to help you cast it. Pretty cool. The Ritualist dedication, the literal archetype that gives you rituals for free, and then some more free rituals as you level up, only gives you a +2 circumstance bonus to casting rituals.
Oh, but wait, that's not a status bonus.
Exactly. And it does not stack if any one of your secondary casters critically succeed. So it doesn't. Okay. So once you have any of these +2 circumstance bonuses to cast the ritual, it doesn't matter if your friends critically succeed or succeed. They just need to succeed.
Okay.
And not fail, basically.
So one job.
So that's really important. And if one of them does fail, then you're at net 0. Because if you're playing an optimal character, you have the Hero Ritualist, and you have already have a +2 circumstance bonus from the many, many places you can get it. So you're at +4. If any one of your friends fails, you get a -4, and now you're at 0. Right? And it's still a very hard DC for the level. 2 things I wanted to point out. The Bard and the Thaumaturge are the only classes I could find during my 1 day's worth of Googling and searching through Archives of Nethys that are class feats that give you bonuses to casting rituals. Okay. So the Thaumaturge and the Bard both have ways to get a +2 circumstance bonus to casting rituals along with some other cool stuff. They basically get the ritualist dedication feat. They get to have some rituals for free, even though they're uncommon. The last kind of bonus is an item bonus. And as far as I can tell, there is no generalized item bonus to casting rituals. Okay. Little tangent here. Little tangent. I leveled up my search function knowledge for Archives of Nethys to triple check that this was accurate, because there were like 237 entries that had the ritual word in them. And I also wanted to search item bonus along with it. So on Archives of Nethys, turns out if you use the plus sign and then you put another string in, it'll ask for, that'll be an and statement. So I put ritual and then I put plus item bonus, and that created an and statement, and that dropped the list down to like 27.
Okay.
So there are no, big caveat, non-rare items that give you a generalized bonus. I'm pretty sure I didn't actually look at all of the level 20 rare items. I was like, no one's ever going to use these anyway. I don't care.
Right.
It's very possible that some of those have it, but even if they do, who cares? Because you're never going to have one. And if you do, your DM is
more zebras
cooking something up. But Eric, I love me some good
zhuzh.
Zhuzh,
isn't it?
Splatitude. I love me a good splatitude.
Right, as long as you clean up after yourself.
So there is one item called the Heart Ripper Blade. Okay.
Of course that caught your attention.
It's rare. And it comes from Crown of the Kobold King.
Oh.
So that's
going way back.
This is a rare item from a very specific adventure path. But it does some cool things. It's a +1 striking dagger. That draws power from killing foes. It's got 2 reactions associated with it that let you do cool pulling the HP out of people when you kill them stuff. Very, very fun. Very fun weapon. But also, a Heart Ripper Blade is well suited to use in any ritual that involves divination, and incorporating it into any ritual with the divination trait grants the wielder a +1 item bonus on any check made to resolve the effects of the ritual's casting. As far as I can tell, this is the only legitimate, non-impossible to get item bonus to cast a ritual, and it's only for divination rituals, which is like 5. And they're all very high level. Most of them, if I remember correctly. So anyway, that's the TLDR as fast as I could go about rituals and the bonuses for rituals.
And the one item to make it all work.
And the one item to give you a little boost. It's very cut and dry. The munchkins out there don't have a lot to feed on, is kind of what I'm getting at here. So,
I don't think I've ever heard a single story of somebody who went super hardcore into rituals as a character concept. I almost feel like you need to build around that more so than just about any other character class.
I actually would disagree.
Yeah.
And I think the reason is because from a munchkin perspective, the rituals that are really useful and actually like something a munchkin would actually be really interested in, most of them are pretty low level. So once you get above like level 7 or 8, they're all pretty, they get easier and easier to cast.
Sure, but the resources you need to expend on achieving the success criteria of those rituals, those are resources you're not spending on getting your runes and your special materials for your armors and swords and
That's true.
and all of that. I mean,
Very true.
There's a gold economy built into
Absolutely.
the character progress.
Absolutely.
And if you're building a ritualist, that's where your resources are going, isn't it? Where is it not going at that point? So that's my ultimate question. I haven't tried to build one yet.
The way I look at character creation in Pathfinder 2nd Edition, from a monetary perspective, is the wealth by level track has an amount of money built into it for you to have a +1 weapon and a +1 armor and blah, blah, blah. And then after all of those basic necessities that the game kind of expects you to have, it leaves you with some discretionary income left over. And you can use that discretionary income, if you will, to buy the non-essentials.
All right.
Which is like things like rituals or
So
spelly
instead
bottles.
of talismans, you're punching into rituals.
Yeah, instead of talismans,
Okay.
you pick up a spelly bottle or a ritual or something like that. So, but you're absolutely right. There is an economy of gold, and spending money on rituals is not spending money on other things.
Yeah. I just, any of you guys out there know any ritualists? Has anybody bothered to do the harrower, thaumaturge, collector of 83 rituals or whatever the number is?
It's 83. Actually,
It's 83
yeah, it's
with
83.
your GM's permission because they're all uncommon or greater?
Actually, so you actually can't collect a bunch of them because they're monster only ritual. There's a bunch of monster.
I noticed that in the
rituals,
Monster Core,
which
yeah.
is fucking awesome.
So
by the way.
again, building a character for something that you only have access to some of, it seems like a strange bit of design theory to me.
I think it's fucking cool though, because like the requirements for the monster rituals are only like, you are an angel, you are a devil,
Right.
you are this, you are that.
Yep.
But like, there's some munchkin-y ways to technically be one of these things.
That's why we're here.
So I would love to kind of play around with a ritualist actually.
Yep.
And just kind of have fun with some of these ideas. This is the kind of character that Tenebris, the character I was playing in your Edgewatch game, is. A character who's leaning super hard into buff casting and stuff like that can find rituals a nice niche to kind of get into and add a little bit of power in a really unique and like role play rich way.
Yeah, and the second you start bringing in crunch that is hard coded into downtime, into non-combat time, immediately you're saying, GM, I need some assistance here.
Yeah, totally.
And all of a sudden, the game's got to be built around you to varying degrees, depending on how deeply you go. So if you're just like, I want to do a ritual for this next bit of downtime we have coming up, I don't know what I'm going to do for the bit of downtime after that, is different than I am rituals every time we have downtimes. GM, my hand is going to be permanently up. I need you to write around this, which is cool for GMs who like that kind of overhead.
Yeah, totally.
But I can totally see GMs banging their heads against the wall. Why did I let this guy play a harrower ritualist who stole the sausage fork from the Kobold King?
I will say the sausage
that thing
fork
was
from the
called.
Kobold King, the Heart Ripper.
The same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, I like my name better.
No, actually, your name's
Vote.
better. Yeah. Vote in the comments. I really do like the idea of someone being a ritualist. I love the idea as a player because like I've really fallen in love with Tenebris as a gameplay mechanic because he's super. I like min-maxed, for all the goblins at home, my character Tenebris basically min-maxed the support class to the point of breaking the game, I'd argue in some ways. Like I give our party regularly +6 to hit. Like I can give one attack +6 to hit, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Especially when it's the rogue who's sneak attack damaging for a bunch of dice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway, I digress. Would you like to jump into some honorable mentions, Eric?
I don't really have any. I mean, all of my honorable mentions are on my list that I chose. The one thing I would like to say is I'm a lore guy. That's no secret here, right? One of the things I like about rituals is how heavily they lean on lore while still absorbing some of the fun crunch bits that you've been talking about for however long it's been, 30 minutes. And that's interesting to me because if you look at the, how many of them did we say there were? Like 83
About
or something?
83,
About 83. Like the top 6 most powerful rituals out there, 5 of them don't come from the player core.
No, they don't.
They come from the lore books and the monster core, and like 1 or 2 of them come from Advanced Player's Guide. but I like how they're scattered throughout the lore books. They're sort of like not things you're intending to start with on your character sheet, but things that you quest towards.
You end up with
a game of acquisition.
Yeah, totally.
And I love the idea of if there's 10 ranks of spells, that's like 10 levels, where one part of a level's worth of adventuring is around it. I mean, can you imagine a campaign that goes up to, let's say 10 levels, or 20 if you want to do the every other level, where each trying to conduct a single ritual is a tower defense game. Like there are those out there trying to disrupt your ritual, keep you from collecting the ingredients you need for. You know, it's like Harry Potter all over again, if you really think about it.
Okay.
So just like that could be a campaign. It's the ritual campaign. And, oh, look, you built a super performative ritualist with the, the butter knife of kobold acquisition. It's kind of... It's a way to reward players who make those kind of decisions. Totally. So it's not a pure crunch, it's not a pure lore, but it's almost like 3/4 lore. And the fact that they're in those non-crunch books is kind of proof of that. I think the only ones you find that are in the player core are basically, they used to be spells like wish and control undead, or make undead or something like that. They just turn them into rituals. They just turn them into rituals, which is boring to me. The ones that are not, the ones that are in the Lost Omens lore books, those are really fucking fun. But and all of those are on my list.
Mechanically, though, I will say, moving them into rituals made way more sense for this game.
I really want to have that discussion at some point when I'm more informed, and I think when we do a video on like spells and the the traditions of spellcasting and all that shit, this is definitely going to come up.
Because like there's summon undead, which is a 3-action spell you cast, and you get a minion for a couple seconds, and then there's the ritual.
Right.
Create
your
undead.
buddy Hal that sticks around.
You make an undead dude, and he's just, if you critically succeed, he's your buddy.
Yeah.
If you don't critically succeed, he's just like, fuck you, kinda. If you critically fail, he tries to murder you.
Yeah. Yeah, eat your face.
That's cool.
I love that.
That's cool. Yeah.
So that's my honorable mentions for rituals. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to burn through this list really quick.
Do it.
They're all in order of level.
Right. You're going to name all the ones you didn't pick for your top 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mystic Carriage.
77.
Mystic Carriage.
Mystic Carriage.
It's a carriage that moves really fast.
Cinderella.
Literally Cinderella.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Rune Trap.
Okay.
Classic Rune
Sigil.
Trap. It's literally Sigil. It's like spell in a sigil. It's great though for that tower defense kind of situation where you're just like put a bunch of spells down, or maybe like if you know you're gonna get attacked and you don't have like the trap maker feat or something like that, all you need is a wizard and fucking carve rune in the wall, and you got fireballs popping off all over the place.
Yep. Get yourself like a little a pit that's fairly easy to spot.
Yeah.
And then the secret door on the wall, and then put the rune on that secret door.
Oh, you're a clever git.
I read a lot of Grimtooth dungeons when I was a kid.
So, Garden of Death.
Yes, I do remember reading that.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah.
You create a garden of poisonous creatures, and if you critically succeed, you get like a +2 bonus on like harvesting them safely to create poisons with and stuff like that.
Yep.
I just love the idea of a poisoner learning this ritual to like fucking grow their poisons. You know what I mean? And they have like a secret poison grove in the back of the shed or behind the shed or whatever. Love that. From the opposite, the conjugate of that would be plant growth.
Sure.
Great for Kingmaker as downtime activity for a leader or a follower during downtime. Like I can see your character in Kingmaker learning the plant growth ritual and walking around as the little druid does and being like, grow crops better, as like your whole downtime thing. What's cool about it?
We are 5 levels into Kingmaker, and you still don't understand that my character does not want to be a druid.
Exactly. No, I understand it.
Okay.
I do understand it. But there's a difference between...
So growing things without consent. Okay, I can get behind that.
Magically growing things without consent. To me, it's like the guy who doesn't want to do something keeps getting buried in all these tools that would improve his neighbors if he just accepted this new person that he would grow into. So if I keep throwing...
Maybe every time he goes out there into the wild to take a piss, that sort of like causes a germination effect.
There you go. So what I want to do is I just want to keep burying your character in cool shit that if they just accepted the changing person they are, they would be much more powerful. Yeah. To me, that's really fun.
Okay. All right. I'll keep an eye on that.
And plant growth is interesting because it is one of the rituals that does not have a monetary cost.
What's the resource dump you need to do in order to make it happen?
It just costs 1 day.
Okay.
The thing about
Time
it
is the resource.
is that it actually has a pretty negligible effect because it's like
It would have to.
crops grow 1.5 times as fast or whatever over the course of the season. It has really big lore implications, but no mechanical implications.
Right.
And because of that, they don't have to charge for anything. So I can just imagine a powerful kingdom just hiring nature nerds to go around and bless the crops.
Right.
You know, the square kilometer of crops every day.
Yep. Blessing of the grapes.
That's their job, literally, to bless the grapes. You know what I mean? I think that'd be rad. Okay, last two, and then we'll jump into the actual top 5. Asmodean.
I don't actually need to do my top 5 anymore because you've named them all.
Hell yeah. Asmodean wager.
Deal with the devil.
Yeah, and it's not even a devil necessarily. It's just you and another person. The mechanics for it are really interesting. You can literally give someone your life. You can wager your life,
right?
Which is rad. And then finally, there's Bathe in Blood, which is like...
Yeah, that's some Dark Eldar shit there.
That's some Dark Eldar shit right there. It's literally like bathe in the blood of your... like 30 gallons of blood if you're...
That's a lot of blood.
It literally says in the spell description, a normal medium creature is about 1.5 gallons of blood. So you do the math.
We know.
What I mean?
We checked.
Yeah, exactly. So it's basically just like, the failure condition, the critical failure for it is you die and likely become an undead or a vampire.
Oh, darn.
It's so cool. I failed. Oh, no.
Now you can start Bloodlords.
That's exactly. So that's my top. Not my top 5. That's my honorable mentions. Just to burn through a quick list of things that did make the cut, and they did make the cut because I want to be the Robert. I want to be the best Robert I can.
Be the Robert you want to see in the Robert.
Exactly, and that means I got to pick the stuff that I think players will actually be able to use and like find value in their game.
So if those were your honorable mentions, I'm curious, how did you go about deciding which of these 83 were going to be on your top 5? What was your criteria?
They have to be low enough level to actually see use in a game. And they have to be valuable to a player to where I would consider making a Johnny character around it. Are you familiar with like the Timmy, Johnny, Spike?
Yep.
For the people at home who don't understand, it's a what is it? A psychographic that a famous that the great magic designer what's his name?
Richard Garfield?
Richard Garfield? No. Is that the guy who made the game?
Yeah.
Okay, so the other guy who's not Richard Garfield.
There is no other guy, but go ahead.
There is another guy. Yeah, there is. There's like the guy who's been designing the game for a long time. The comments.
You're talking about the vice president.
Eric, we'll find it later. When you're talking, I'm going to Google who that is. Anyway.
Oh, I'll talk.
A Johnny is basically someone who enjoys building the deck as much as they do in playing the deck.
It's a reflection of their personality and themselves.
Exactly. And as a Johnny, to me, a Munchkin really is just a Johnny, someone who like wants to, who their character build is a reflection of who they are, blah, blah, blah. And so I wanted the choices to reflect like something I would actually build, even if it's not optimal. It's got to be interesting enough for me to for Robert to actually want to build into a character. So it has to be useful, like at the table, maybe given a specific circumstance, but still very, very useful. So I'm all about the practicality here with my choices.
Okay. For me, there's 10 ranks. I only get 5. So I wanted to get 1 from each rank. Okay. I went with the even numbers just so I could get that 10th rank ritual in there. So that was my first criteria. There's a second 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's how it works.
Proud of you.
I've got 1 from each. And the other criteria I had was I didn't just want to pick rituals that were spells redone. That's not to say I didn't. But if I pick something that used to be a spell, it's because I thought I might have seen a way to make it work in a way that didn't feel like the spell from previous editions.
That's cool.
So I kind of stuck with that because these are kind of waters where I'm not super comfortable. Anyhow, that's all I did.
Yeah, no, that's a fair, very basic but like useful criteria.
Rituals are flavorful, so clearly I doubled down on the flavor, and I also tried to get rituals from different books as well, but some of them doubled up because there's only so many.
Dude, Secrets of Magic had so many rituals. It makes sense.
It's not surprised.
Yeah, exactly. But like I'm really glad we did this episode because without it, I probably never would
have seen some of these things.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of stuff comes to light when we're just like, fuck, I'll never do that in real life. But for this episode, I'll do the research.
Hell yeah. So Eric, I feel bad for literally going over all the ones you picked. So why don't you go ahead and start with your number 5. By the way, Goblins, if you like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. We're trying to get 10,000 subscribers. So
you can help.
So Daddy Paizo gives us free books.
Yeah.
Or Mommy Paizo? I don't know. I haven't decided what gender.
Genderless Paizo. At this point,
I will eventually ascribe a gender to Paizo, but not today. We're gonna leave it up in the air.
All right, so I'm gonna show my cards and show you that I have lied right out the gate. Create undead.
Of course. Okay.
You went there immediately.
All right.
I'm like, shut up, Robert.
Okay. All right. Pitch it.
Uncommon, unholy. Haha, we see it. Player core. Nobody's surprised.
Yep.
Used to be a spell. Blah blah blah. It goes way back. The cost is a black onyx. Whatever.
It's always been a black onyx.
Has it? Oh, cool. Then I actually appreciate that. They kept that. They kept it after all these years. See the creature creation rituals, which is a thing here. Secondary casters, only one. Nobody cares. In order to cast this thing, you need to be an expert in Arcana. You don't have to be a master. You don't have to be legendary. You can be something reachable like expert. What level do you have to be in order to qualify for expert? A thing.
A player character can technically become expert in a thing at level 1.
Okay. So that's really early.
Level 3 is actually like the reasonable end.
Right. And this is a ritual too, so you got to be able to you got to be level 4 at least.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah, that's that. You're Arcana expert, occultism expert, or religion expert. That's 3 different things. So I can totally see somebody who's just Joan of Arc devout, not a caster at all, but goes to church every Sunday. They can create undead. I can see somebody who's sort of like the father or the daughter of the local parish priest. You know, they're not a spellcaster. They were raised in the household. They can create undead. Can you imagine, like, Daddy is giving sermons every Sunday on doing the right thing, and then you're just like, "Fuck you, Dad," and you make a ghoul in the basement?
Yeah,
these are kind of cool.
There's like a library in the basement.
Yeah,
and you snuck in there, and you've been reading the forbidden books.
Yeah. And, you know, you're Daddy's kid, so clearly the texts and the scrolls are in the fucking house on the coffee table.
Yeah.
So that's how you can justify being an expert in something.
Totally.
You don't have to go to school for this shit. You don't have to take a class for this shit or an archetype. You just get the skills. And I super appreciate how these are leaning on skills more so than feats or class abilities. So that's another reason why I dig on the rituals. Secondary checks, religion. Okay, that's fine. Range 10 feet, don't care. Target, 1 dead creature. You transform the target into an undead creature with a level, blah, 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 more crunch. None of that really matters. So the thing that I found interesting is the minion trait.
Oh, yeah, totally.
You give it the minion trait, right?
Yep, you get the minion trait, and then you can have up to 4 minions at a time.
Aren't there feats out there that let you leverage that are not restricted to the summoner?
Yeah. No, actually, most of the feats don't have anything to do with it.
I thought so, but my Google foo is weak because last night I tried to look for him and I couldn't find him.
Oh, yeah.
So I was thinking, like, can you build a character that's a non-caster that takes the feat chain that allows you to do things with the minion traits, affect things with the minion traits, and then lean on rituals that tag things with the minion trait? What a fun backdoor concept to get shit done and then say, GM, this is what I'm toying with. Because we've all seen those movies where it turns out it was the 9-year-old boy who had the occult book who summoned the big demon, and it wasn't all the people who have degrees hanging on their walls in that particular field of study.
Gotcha.
So this is yet another way to like backdoor your way into power fantasies.
One of the interesting things about the way that this spell is written, this ritual is written, is that the critical success makes them friendly towards you.
Yeah.
You don't have control over them. They're just innately friendly towards you. And I think you get a bonus to influencing them and stuff like that. I think it's like
tell you if I can click on the damn thing.
If they're mindless, something you can just control them outright. And if they're like, you know, conscious beings, then they're just like friendly towards you or something like that. I think that's really interesting. I think it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I liked about it. It was mainly the minion thing.
Yeah, totally.
That made me go, you can do something with Create Undead that you haven't been able to do for the 40 years this thing's been around in TTRPGs.
Totally.
That can't be a small deal. And on top of that, there's a design space forward you can build towards with this. So who's to say that the next class we get, having nothing to do with any of the traditions of magic, can create undead and affect him and make him run around? That's not the guy you're looking for when you're chasing down the necromancer in a storyline.
Just imagine you're a fighter from Geb. And because it's Geb,
it was the fighter class I was thinking
you've learned rituals of undead, and you are maybe, let's say it's a second level spell that's 5 or 4. So let's just say that like you're a 6th, maybe an 8th level fighter. You're a strong fighter in the world of Galarian, right? But you're not like the shit. But you're from Geb, which means that you've learned the create undead ritual, and you're high enough level that actually you can cast create undead pretty well. So you walk around with 4 skeleton mooks, and you know what they do? They're your backup gang.
Yeah.
They're your mariachi gang.
Yeah.
All they do is play songs behind you, or they carry your stuff, and they're just your people that like they just do stuff for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking like as a fighter having that 2 action feat that lets you stride twice and attack. You get it immediately, and you can use your other action to make your ghoul creation move out there, so that by the time you stride and attack and get there, the thing's flat-footed. So there's I was thinking
that in a rogue. Yeah, that in a rogue would be great.
That's one round you can do that. Yeah. So like 2 rogues can sort of do the con artist duo thing where they have their expert in religion lore, and then they can create a same thing. Get a couple of ghoulies that kind of sit around.
It's pretty interesting, and it's important to note that the minion trait specifically says you can only spend 1 action to get 2 actions out of the minion, and you can only command 1 minion a turn. So if you're a character with an animal companion and a minion, like an undead minion or something like that, you can only tell one of them to do something.
Sure.
And if you have additionally, if you have a animal companion and a familiar, you still can only tell one of those 2 things to do something. Just a note to remind people.
Does that continue? It probably does. Does that continue to be true with the Beastmaster archetype?
Yeah. Beastmaster
just gives you more. It doesn't give you...
The Beastmaster gives you an animal companion, and then it gives you a posse of other animal companions.
Sure.
And if I remember correctly, the way it works is you basically have to switch them out as your primary.
Yeah.
And the other ones, and like at the end of the day, you can only command 1 a turn. So,
and that's fine. I mean, if you're a fighter, you shouldn't be asking for 36 undead to run around on the battlefield. But just having that 1, so you can do that 2 action stride attack when your other dude's already there, like holding onto their ankles from behind.
Totally.
I super dig it. You couldn't do that with Create Undead before, so that's why I picked it. Absolutely. That's my number 5.
Hell yeah. My number 5 is The World's a Stage.
Okay.
Did I step on your toes, Eric?
Nope.
That's one of the ones I expected you to pick. That's kind of surprising.
I don't really go for the Barty stuff.
So this one is fucking cool. The reason it's actually number 5 is because it's a 5th level ritual.
Okay.
So I had to go with the same number. No, I'm kidding. The reason is because it's level 5, so you have to be at least 10th level to even do this. And I was aiming towards practicality, things that goblins could walk home with and actually throw into their game and use. So a 10th level character is a lot less likely than the rest of the rituals I picked. All right, let's talk about this thing. It takes 1 day to cast. The cost, costumes and a stage large enough to fit all the casters. What? Secondary casters, 2 to 12. Primary check is occultism. Okay. And then the secondary checks is crafting performance. So you actually only need 2 of the people. You need minimum 2 of the people who are the secondary casters to actually do a secondary casting.
Drama club.
Literally drama club. Duration is 1 month. Man. I want to read this whole body of text, but it's so long. So basically, casting the ritual itself is prepping for and performing a play. And if you succeed in the ritual, that literally alters the reality going forward. So I'm going to read the success and critical successes. Critical success, something sublime sparks between the performance and audience. and destiny conspires to push events in the right direction. You and each secondary caster can roll up to 3 skill checks at any point during the duration of the ritual after determining the result, as long as the skill check is connected to ensuring the topic of the performance comes true. And then success is as a critical success, except for the sparks of destiny are weaker, so each caster can reroll any one single check. A failure is nothing, and then critical failure. The performance is dramatic and horrendous botch, and fate strikes out at the casters. You and each secondary casters are doomed 1 for the next month, and this condition can't be removed by anything less than a wish or similarly powerful magic. The idea here is that you perform like an allegory to or a metaphor for something you're trying to change in the world. Mm-hmm. And when you succeed, the motion of life actually causes that to happen. The reason I like this so much is because in a very large way, you're kind of forcing the hand of the GM, mm-hmm. which is something you don't really see as overtly as this is. I mean, obviously the players are acting in the GM's game.
Yeah. This and Investigator are the two big ones.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it's the difference between this and Investigator is this costs a lot.
It does, yeah. And you see it coming a mile down the road.
Exactly. So I just thought it was too cool not to mention.
It's a good one.
It's from Secrets of Magic. Yeah.
I love that. Like, would you say 6 to 12, but it only takes 2 secondary casters?
2 to 12 secondary casters.
2 to 12 secondary casters,
yeah. And 1 primary.
Yeah. I'm seeing a room full of people and like 9 of them don't know what's going on, but they're there and they're a part of it.
What's funny is the spell specifically requires there to be an actual audience. So you can't perform for no one. You have to perform for an actual audience.
Yeah, this is the Yellow King all over again.
Absolutely.
All right. Number 4. What do we got? My number 4 is a level 4 ritual because level 4. See, I can be clever too. I chose the Garden of Death for all the reasons you said. Next.
Oh, come on. Go on.
Yeah, this is legacy content, but I picked it anyway. Secrets of Magic is one of my favorite books, and I have read less of that one book than I have all the others. I mean, it's kind of criminal how little I've thumbed through that thing. Alternative magic systems are super interesting to me, and the fact that D&D, which has only ever been a Vancian system, it can have alternative magic, if not systems, and at least we can thematically get it out there. Then, it's yummy. So I like everything about that book outside of the 2 classes that came with it. Garden of Death, I kind of dig it because, like you said, if you have apothecaries or poisoners, it just makes sense that a group of people, like a book club of poisoners, would get together and say, hey, guys, let's share our resources.
Totally.
Everybody chip in, motherfuckers. Stop being cheap. Put it in there. And we're going to have our little garden, and we're going to parcel it out. I see what you just tried to do.
Yeah.
Refills their drink. And then, go on about your day. So it's sort of a way to build community among bad folks. It's just a way to make people interact with one another that share common interests. You see an herbalist out in the woods. There's only one. There's only ever one. It's never a group of them, unless there's 3, in which case it's a totally different story that's about to drop on your head.
Absolutely.
So, poisoners, of course, they write each other, and they email each other, and they text each other. It's like I don't want to say it, but there are insidious people among us in certain groups that do pernicious things against specific vulnerable populations, and they interact with each other. So the idea of just acknowledging that shitty people can group together and create a garden of death where they mutually benefit, it's kind of cool. Did you read the success criteria when you were going over yours?
Yeah, I read everything from
you already did, okay. Yeah. So basically everything you just said. And because I am building into an alchemist, it happened to catch my eye.
Totally.
Because I'm using the alchemy deck and the talisman deck and the item deck to mix in with the hero point deck to create hero point experiences for Edgewatch.
Which was awesome, by the way.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
It was the Gardens of Wonder from the that Treasure Vault book that kind of stimulated that idea. And again, thank you, Nick. Every time you open your mouth, I get 2 new ideas.
Hell yeah.
So this Garden of Death seems like a natural extension of that conversation that's been going on for about 1.5 years with me.
So for all of the goblins at home who have his name on the tip of their mouth and have been slamming it in the comment section. In the vice president of Magic the Gathering, Eric's words, is named Mark Rosewater. And Erik has never heard of him. That actually really surprises me because Mark is like
designer.
Yeah, no, he's like the principal game designer of Magic the Gathering.
Did he pick it up when Richard put it down?
Yeah. Okay. He's like the guy.
So he's like the chosen one in Magic Land?
But he's been the guy for like 20 years, 30 years. He's been the guy for a long time.
All right.
And it's really surprising, like someone like you who like knows board game design so well doesn't know who he is. It just surprised me.
Yeah.
But yeah, his name's Mark Rosewater.
Magic is a strange community for me now.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. You old man.
It's kind of like when people talk about Mike Merles for 5th edition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, I knew all the superstars of D&D, and that wasn't one of the names. But all of my superstar knowledge was like 3E and before.
Yeah, totally. But I think that was a great choice. Number 4 is
it's solid, it's fun, it's thematic. It comes from a non-standard book. You still need to get your GM's permission. It just creates forks in the narrative road that give your GM something to work with.
And what's cool, I think, about it is in Player Core 2, there are a lot of poisoner options. So doing this as a player who wants to be more of a poisoner in combat makes perfect sense.
And with the toxicologist making a bit of a comeback with the new alchemist.
Exactly.
Alchemist. The Alchemist.
The Alchemist. That's its name now. Mr. Alchemist.
Is that the alchemist kineticist? The alchemist?
Ooh.
Alchemist?
The an important note for the goblins at home who are new to the system. I just want to point out that
teach us, learn us.
The alchemist does not need a poison garden to create poisons with their class ability. They will still need them to create poisons per the crafting rules, and you can read about that, especially in the Player Core 2. It's very different, but to make a very long story short. You wouldn't need this for the alchemist specifically, but like literally any other class will need it.
Yeah, again, this is like casters don't have to have the cast a spell activity.
Exactly.
Poisoners don't need to have the XYZ. Be an alchemist.
So my number 4 would be absolutely perfect for an Erik game.
And now that you're leaving my game, you mook?
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, Goblins, I'm having to step out of Edgewatch for a little while because of work. Saturdays just don't really...
I am down 1 psychic. No one's going to know what hit him.
I just bragged about how good my buffs are, and I'm like, oh, yeah, by the way...
I'm taking my buffs and going home.
I'm going to work, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Concealment's Curtain.
Yeah. Okay. I did not pick this one.
Okay, good. I'm kind of surprised again that you didn't.
I wanted to.
Okay, so it takes 6 days to cast. The cost is an ornate mirror worth at least 100 gold pieces, naturally occurring round fruit, the size and number of the target's eyes, and the same amount of flawless silver needles worth at least 1 gold piece each. Secondary casters are 3. The primary check, occultism. The secondary checks, arcana, deception, and stealth. You need an occultist and an arcanist and a deceiver and a stealth person to cast this ritual. Range is planetary. Targets 1 living creature, duration 1 week. I'm reading this whole thing out, baby.
Yep.
At twilight for 5 days, you line the fruit in front of the mirror, chanting the name of the target and envisioning its eyes in your mind. At exactly midnight on the last day, you drive the pins through the fruits.
Every move you make.
Every step you take. Miming the action of methodically blinding the target to you and your companions. The target is immediately affected and can't visually detect any of the casters involved in the ritual, provided that the ritual was successful. The target is unaware of the effects. Since the ritual affects the target ability to see the casters rather than make the casters invisible, effects like true seeing are ineffective against the concealment curtain. Instead, the target would need to remove the curse with the likes of remove curse. To perform this ritual, you must have been within 5 feet of the target at least once, close enough to get a good look at its eyes. The target is then temporarily immune to further castings of Concealment's Curtain for 1 year. Critical success. The target is unable to visually detect the casters for the duration, and the target's detection spells don't detect the targets. Success. The target is unable to visually detect the casters for the duration, but its detection spells function normally. Failure. The ritual has no effect. Critical failure. The ritual backfires and all the casters participating in it are blinded for the next 24 hours. You can hide it to 8th level. It goes cattywampus bonkers and does a bunch of more powerful stuff that's awesome. So this in a game of espionage like Edgewatch is insane. Mm-hmm. And if the party doesn't, if I know a lot of our players watch this, and I will be very upset if none of them try to do this while I'm gone.
I'm saying nothing. I am waiting.
That would be fucking cool. So like imagine,
and you can use this on like demons and devils and other things.
And so long as they're on the same planet. That you're
right, planetary.
But like, how cool would it be to use this on a major antagonist in the story?
Totally.
And they just can't see you. You know,
stop rolling right now. Stop. Turn it off.
You're in a major social situation in a casino, and the
just
person
to name a random example
you have to steal keys from literally can't see you.
I hate everything about where this is
How
going.
fucking cool would that be?
Yeah.
Like, this is dripping with so much flavor. The description of it is so specific.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a cool thing to like for the players to say, GM, this is what we want to do and this is why we want to do it. This is how we want to do it. And then the GM will take that and go, all right, give me 3 weeks.
Yeah, for real, dude. For real.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's my number 4, Concealment's Curtain. If you're playing an espionage game, a high touch, highfalutin RP game, this is a deal breaker, a game breaker, a big maker, a changer, a mover.
A little bit. It'll require some recalibration, which is why it's not a thing you just like spring on a GM. I'm going to go to the Grand Bazaar today and I'm going to do some shopping. Is that okay? Okay. I go to the Grand Bazaar and I take my shopping list with me. This is what I get. Gimme. You don't fucking be that player.
I'm sorry, player, but this is...
Your ritual is in another castle.
Uncommon. And they don't just sell this.
Yep. Surprise this, biatch.
At a bazaar. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Complete with a bobblehead.
Exactly.
So, my next one comes from the Monsters of Myth book.
Oh, I fucking love this book so much.
Yeah.
This book is
it's
so
another
cool.
one. Like, Monsters of Myth is the, what's the hero book? It's the Legends book for monsters and bad things.
Yes.
It really is. And again, this just, it makes my heart warm that
just like
such
this room.
Cool material. I know, right? That's why we got to keep this shorter than we normally do. That such cool material we're picking for our list comes out of books that don't say player core on them, and APG, and so on and so forth. So what did I pick? Form of the Sandpoint Devil, Ritual 6.
Oh my God.
This was fun.
Yeah,
This was a lot of fun. So the Sandpoint Devil, it's a creature. It's named. I'm not going to go into it too much.
Very famous in one of the most important adventure paths ever. The first one.
Not really. It's issue number 200 where it gets like...
True.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a major character.
Yeah,
in like
they talk about it.
In the tautology.
But you never like see it.
True.
Or maybe you do. Yeah. I don't know. I should probably shut up now.
Yeah.
So Form of the Sandpoint Devil. This
You're
is
literally
legacy
playing
content.
the game, Eric.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, it's rare. It's evil. Yes. Polymorph, transmutation. Takes a day to cast it. Cost igneous stones, but nobody cares about this shit. So what do you need to do? You need to be a master in religion, okay? Because it's a devil, right? So far makes sense. Secondary checks, arcana, occultism, religion. Bring somebody to the party that knows one of those three, you're good. It lasts for 3 days, I believe it says. Takes a day to cast and it lasts for 3. So that's sort of like a ticking clock on an adventure right there. And it's like, boom, go time. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? Because you don't really have downtime in a 3-day segment.
Yeah.
So you got to get your actions going. You infuse yourself with the incredible amounts of pure evil, subsuming your consciousness into malevolence and giving yourself a monstrous form resembling that of the Sandpoint Devil. So you can reskin this
Absolutely.
to be rainbow bright
Exactly.
if you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the Sandpoint Devil. Just take all of this and change it to Charizard. Beginning at dawn, you and your accomplices. See, you have accomplices. These aren't secondary casters anymore. These are people
accomplices.
getting ready to rob a bank with you.
Exactly.
So, beginning at dawn, you and your accomplices lay out a fire directly on loose earth, layering the igneous rocks and gems into the fire pit. When the fire is hot enough, you roast bat wings, horse hooves, and lizards over it until they're tender enough to eat. For the hooves, this could take hours. Throughout the time, you meditate and recite passages of texts holy to Lamashtu, ruminating on the beauty and necessity of the monstrous, and twisting your mindset into a monstrous shape, the better to hold the evil that will come to possess you. Once the wings, hooves, and lizards are cooked, you and your accomplices eat these items in their entirety, tearing them only with your teeth. And you must eat more than anyone else involved. You have to eat more than anyone else involved. You then scoop out a trench in the location where you previously lit the fire. You fold the hot rocks into the earth. Your accomplices then bury you shallowly in the trench. You should be able to breathe, but not necessarily able to see. Your accomplices then recite the correct texts and draw upon the power of transmutation while you infuse your mind further with the power and beauty of the monstrous.
Evil.
The stage continues for hours until the setting of the sun. With the departure of the final ray and in accordance with your faith and occult power, you'll rise transformed. Critical success. You sprout enormous bat wings, a lizard-like tail, pointed teeth, hooves, and an equine head. You gain dark vision. If you already had dark vision, you instead gain greater dark vision. You gain jaws and hoof. You gain jaws and hoof unarmored melee strikes, which are the only attacks you can use. You're trained with them. Your attack modifier is plus 23. Don't care.
Don't care.
Your jaw strikes are 2d10 plus 6 piercing.
Okay.
Your hoof does 2d6 plus 6 bludgeoning.
Okay.
They have agile and versatile, whatever. I don't care. These attacks are strength-based for the purposes of the enfeebled condition. You fly 40. You gain a version of the Sandpoint Devil's accursed breath once per hour. You go boo and deal fire damage. I'm not giving you numbers. Your mind transforms, subsuming your personality with that of the Sandpoint Devil. Unlike many polymorph spells, you can't dismiss this spell.
Oh, yeah, baby.
You are it. You have transformed. So that's a critical success. What about a regular success? Just like the critical success, except your fly speed is 20.
Oh, no.
And you can use your breath weapon once per day. Success is pretty fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah. Successes still do the thing, which is
What
awesome.
about a failure? You fail to transform yourself, and your friends probably leave you in the dirt. Sorry, your accomplices.
It's a shallow burial.
But like every other ritual, the fun is in the failure.
The critical failure.
The critical failure, right. Not only do you fail to transform yourself, but the ritual's secondary casters all transform into the Sandpoint Devil for 1 minute, and they immediately attack you.
Oh, my God.
You're in the dirt at this point. Yes. And these hooves are stomping on you, and you're trying to get up.
Yeah.
You can't breathe very well because you're sucking dirt.
I mean, it's
a
at least
good time.
It's at least one interact action to unbury yourself.
Yeah. And you're prone.
Absolutely.
It's just... I love it because I've had a love affair with the town of Sandpoint since 200 AP volumes ago.
Absolutely.
And it's so reskinnable. Like every single game any of you out there have ever played, you can do this and it will fit appropriately in there. You just got to be able to cast 6 levels. You got to be 12th level in order to do this. And it came out of this freaking book that maybe 2 of you out there have on your shelf, maybe 3.
It's pretty awesome.
These are just amazing to have.
Yeah,
So,
and every one of the monsters in here can be reskinned as a BBEG for like a bunch of different levels.
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and they're
it's
all
great.
like mythic in the, Earth traditional mythic sense.
Absolutely.
They all have that sense of gravitas.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's the form of the Sandpoint Devil,
Hell
my number
yeah.
3.
That's a great number 3, Eric.
Which is half of 6, which is the ritual. I did that on purpose
there
too.
You go. So my 3, 2, and 1 are all a lot more practical than
and
the
it's
two
Evil
I've
Goonies
picked
too.
before.
Continue.
It is Evil Goonies. Yeah, 100%. So number 3, Guardians Aegis.
Yeah. I knew you were doing this one before you even said it.
Of course. Yeah. So this one's pretty cool. It's level 3, third choice on the list. Coincidence? I think
Absolutely.
so. Yes. Cast 1 day, rare orals worth 10 GP times the primary caster's level. Primary caster occultism or religion, secondary caster athletics, diplomacy, or society. Duration 1 week. The Guardian's Aegis is a ritual used across numerous cultures to bind a chosen guardian and ward together so that they can complete a quest of great import. When the ritual is completed, designate one of the casters as the guardian and the other as the ward, as long as you're on the same plane of existence, which is like a fucking wonderful caveat, mind you. You could be on Mars and this still has effect.
Spelljammers unite.
Both of you are always aware of each other's relative direction and state of being, including any conditions the other is affected by. As long as you're within 30 feet, very different distance of each other, whenever the ward takes damage, the damage is reduced by the amount equal to half the guardian's level. It's a significant amount, but it's not a terrible amount. Like at level 10, you're reducing damage by 5. And then the guardian takes that amount of damage. Any status effects and stuff like that still get affected to the normal person and don't affect the guardian. Critical success is it actually goes for a month and not a week. Success is it's successful. Failure, no effect. Critical failure, the ritual backfires. You and the secondary caster become magically isolated from each other for 1 week, unable to provide each other with any beneficial effect.
What does magically isolated mean?
I don't even know. That's why I love how ambiguous it is. It's just like, you can't touch each other with magic.
It's like Nethys is like you over there.
Literally. So it's mechanically very useful and for a lot of reasons. It's third rank. So 6th level caster minimum. Very, very practical, especially if you're playing. I would love to see this in a champion. Actually, paladin champion would be best.
Sure.
But any kind of like shield wearing blocker character who's trying to absorb hits and stuff like that, especially if they're co-piloting with like they're trying to be the flanking friend of a rogue or something like that. Every time the rogue gets hit, the paladin gives them resistance to the damage, and then they take 5 less more damage, and then you take the damage, and then on your turn you use 1 action to heal yourself with lay on hands to get all that HP back and more, and then also create a blocking move. So it has a lot of synergy because it very obviously stacks with a lot of other abilities, and it lasts a month. The cost is really low.
It lasts a month?
If you critically succeed, it lasts a month.
That is nuts.
It lasts a week for normal success.
That's like 1/3 of the entirety of the AP that I'm running right now.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you got to be careful when these rituals are permitted in play too.
Yeah.
Fine print will always fuck you. Ask any Asmodean.
The primary caster's level times 10 GP is it's a decent cost. But at 6th level, 60 GP is not an insane amount of money. It's not nothing, actually. Believe it or not, it's actually not nothing. 60 GP is actually pretty valuable. I mean,
at that level,
the striking rune is about 60 GP, and you get that at 4th level.
Okay.
So 4th or 5th, I can't remember. So just like context there, but it's still like it's a pretty decent effect for the price, I think.
Okay.
Especially for the duration if you critically succeed. So yeah, Guardians Aegis, like really practical. The next 2 are very practical and have very little flavor, but that's why I picked them.
Well, my number 4, I think we are at this point.
Number 2.
Number 2, the other number 4.
Yes.
On the other side of the curve.
Yes. The other number 4.
The mirror 4.
The conjugate 4.
Yeah. So this one does come out of the player
4.
core, and it was a spell, probably still is to some degree. It's Control Weather. And
what?
It's control weather, right? And now there's only so many level 8 rituals in here. So I went through them all and went, which one of these as a GM would I be able to make more than simply just the words in this entry take place?
Okay.
And we've been talking a lot about hazards lately.
Ooh.
So yeah. Think hazards as I go through this. It's uncommon. Haha, no surprise. It takes a day to cast. 1 secondary caster. Primary check. Anybody? Weather? Changers? Which skill would you use for that?
Occultism?
Thievery, right? Yeah.
So
you need to know your nature shit, and you need to be a master at this point. So you're a 16th level if you can cast.
Yeah. Master's obvious. Yeah.
So blah blah blah. Secondary check, survival. Yay. Area 2-mile radius circle centered on you.
Oh wow.
How long is it? 4d12 hours.
4d12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah. So 2 days of a raging inferno around you?
No, on average, that's 1 day.
Okay, sure. Even 1 day.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. Can you imagine a kineticist busting this thing out at a high level?
Oh, now we're
just,
talking.
flavoring it up.
Yeah, totally.
So you alter the weather, making it calm and normal for the season, or choosing up to 2 effects based on the season. You can't specifically control the manifestations, such as the exact path of the tornado or the targets of lightning strikes. In autumn, cold weather, fog, mild heat, sleet. In spring, drizzle, downpour, extreme heat, hail, heat. Yeah, period. Summer, drizzle, heat, hurricane, sleet, thunderstorm, tornado. They like their tornadoes.
They do.
Winter, blizzard, mild cold, extreme cold, thaw. Critical success. You change the weather as designed and can affect larger effect up to 5-mile radius circle.
Holy shit.
Or longer duration. Any number of additional D12 hours up to 16 D12.
Jesus Christ.
Success.
16 D12. What's 16 times 6, Eric? 60.
don't
6
do
times
that
6
to
is
me.
36. That's 96 hours.
Yeah.
That's like 12,
It's more
12,
than a
24, 48. That's 4. That's like a week and a half on average. It could be longer.
Of tornado action
That's
centered on you.
wild, dude.
Yeah.
What's
so
the
like
casting
you
time?
are a category 5.
What's the casting time?
It takes a day to do it.
And the price? Is there no price?
Source, cast, secondary cast.
Oh my! Is
primary
there no
check,
fucking
secondary
price
checks.
to this?
Did I just read over it?
Goblins at home. I am happy to inform you. Control weather, the level 8 ritual, has no goddamn price.
Free. It's the best price.
Can you imagine just like going somewhere and saying "fuck these people" in particular, and just casting this every day?
Well, I can't imagine you can cast it while you're in the middle of it, but
Why not? Doesn't say you can't.
Can rituals overlap?
Why not? It doesn't say they can't.
I don't know. I remember reading it before showing up today and not
Generally-
seeing that information.
Generally speaking, buffs don't stack, but this isn't a buff.
Effect.
This is just a spell effect.
So you can summon the Sandpoint Devil in yourself and then create a tornado around you, and
I mean, the Sandpoint Devil lasts for 3 days, so, you know.
that's crazy.
You could summon the tornado, and then that's 8 hours. Let's say you rolled 4d12. What is it? For the normal. So you roll 4d12, and it ends up lasting a day and a half. And then over the next 8 hours, while doom and gloom and terrible things are happening, you're transforming yourself into the Sandpoint Devil. So right as people see the break in the clouds, the Sandpoint Devil descends upon them.
And now I want to play a hero or ritualist.
Dude, I'm saying, I'm
The
going to cook this
domino
up.
of rituals.
I'll cook it up.
So your failure state is you fail to change the weather as desire. Your success is you change the weather as desire. Boo-hoo. Critical failure. The weather changes in an unanticipated way, determined by the GM, but generally as contradictory to your true desires as possible. For instance, a terrible storm emerges when you would prefer good weather. You can heighten this.
Of course you can. Can you hold on. Imagine you're like the
So as an
imagine
herbalist,
you're trying to be the Sandpoint Devil, and you're like, I'm gonna make a terrible storm, and it's gonna be awful, and everyone's they're gonna be so scared, and you critically fail, and then it's just like the most perfect summer afternoon for 2 straight days. the GM rolls quadruple boxcars on his D12s, and it's like for the next 48 hours, it is a perfect 75 and partly cloudy all day long. The fish are jumping out of the water, happy as can be.
Can you voluntarily fail a check like this?
That's some shenanigans.
That's some shenanigans right there. Heightened 9th level. You can create unseasonable weather and contradictory weather effects.
Oh, cool.
Such as extreme cold and a hurricane. You can make the weather calm and normal weather for a different season, or choose weather effects from any season's list. So that's kind of control weather in a nutshell. I guess the reason why I like this as much as I did is when this spell trips, immediately the GM can just sort of whip out a series of hazards based on the resulting weather type. And now the players don't have to fight monsters in that spell effect. They can fight hazards. They can still have really quick mathematical encounters that you can just, when Robert gets his shit together and puts together the hazard spreadsheet that he's working on.
That's already put together.
It's already put together?
Did
you hear that? It's available.
That was like the first one I made.
Yeah. I was setting you up.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Hey, goblins. By the way, I've been cooking. I've been cooking in my lab.
Cooking in the lab with his magic garden.
These probably already exist, but I didn't see them on the internet, so I made them for myself, and now I'm sharing them with you. They are spreadsheets. They're basically like really simple tools that help me design things for our Patreon and stuff like that. Like if I want to cook up a hazard, I answer the questions in one of the tabs, and then it spits out all the statistics you need for a hazard of that level. I don't get too granular with it. That way I don't want to get in the way of people's imagination,
sure.
But I give them the numbers they need so they don't have to go like because for me, it was like every time I looked at the page, I wanted to make a hazard. I have to read the whole entry and then check the things and make sure I'm doing it right.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And if it's this, then you have to use that, blah, blah, blah. So instead, I just created a series of questions that you need to ask yourself, and then it poops out the numbers you want.
Which is great if you're doing explorations and you don't know which fucking direction anybody's going to go.
That's true.
Are we going to the mountains, the forest, or your grandmother's bathroom?
Exactly.
Different hazards for that scenario.
Absolutely.
So
you could literally cook them up on the fly.
Yep. Yeah. So control weather. When this spell trips, a series of hazards can be generated specific to the type of atmospheric disturbance. And control weather is really about as cinematic as it gets.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a player core ritual, and it was a spell. It's nothing new. But because we now have hazards, and we did not used to have hazards until Pathfinder 2nd Edition, I think that's a true statement.
I mean, we've had traps. We've had things like hazards. They just hadn't been codified as hazards.
God, traps kind of occupy a different space in most of our imaginations. They're spikes, they're pits, they're...
But that's what a hazard is.
A hazard can be like, the sun is hot.
Yes. Okay, so a hazard is the umbrella category which includes traps.
It does, yeah, but not all traps are hazards.
Yes.
Not all hazards are traps.
Yes.
Which is why this kind of space is the same, but it's different enough to be cool. It's like shifting that.
To me, Paizo basically just gave language to something that we all kind of already understood, but by giving it that language in this framework has made it infinitely more accessible.
Yeah. Imagine like somebody shrinks to a very small size and goes into your ear, and there's an earwax hazard.
Yeah. I thought you were going with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but that's something too.
I mean, like, it's what do I do with that? My fucking players just threw me a curveball.
Yeah.
I make a hazard. It's easy.
I use Robert's spreadsheet. Yeah, exactly. I'm also making one for monsters and magic items.
I can't wait for this.
The magic item one is kind of done. I'm pretty sure it's done. Magic items are a pain in the ass, so it's hard to call it done. There's a lot more I could add, but I don't think I should. And then the monsters one is going to take me a long time.
Yeah, that's the chunky boy one.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I got there for my...
Oh, yeah. Number 2.
Inverted number 4.
Inverted number 4. Number 2 for me is a spell that I have loved and has affected me on numerous occasions. It's called Reincarnate.
Reincarnate.
I mean, it could be sex change, actually, if you think about it. So I cannot tell you. So I played Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, 3.5, for the vast majority of my young adult life.
That was your formative years, wasn't it?
Those are my formative years. That and Pathfinder 1st edition. Mainly Pathfinder 1st edition, actually. But Pathfinder 1 was 3.75 for the most part. And I can't tell you how many times my guy died or someone in the party died because I was playing with red box fucking grognards, the OGs that like killing characters.
The Grimtooth gang.
Hell yeah. And you're too poor to cast a real reincarnate,
You're too poor to reincarnate.
Yeah, you're too poor to resurrect. So you go for the cheapo reincarnate, discount, bring me
Blue
back to
collar
life.
resurrect.
Exactly. And you roll a D100 to
Fucking
find
wizard
out
billionaires.
what your ancestry is. There's this one time we were in a party and two players at the table died in the same encounter. We cast reincarnate on both of them. One was an elf, the other one was a human. You know what they both rolled?
Dwarf.
Half elf. So it's like, and we were like, oh my God,
That's
it's
fabulous.
like their souls got mixed up during death. And when we reincarnated them, they came back as both half elves, half of each other. How cool is that?
Yeah. I can see that little wrestling match in the middle. Human, elf, human. Fine, you're both.
Yeah, exactly. So
Nobody gets what they want.
reincarnate is cool because it's a 3rd level ritual, Eric. 3rd level. That means a 6th level character can cast it. And you don't even have to be the cleric in the party to cast it anymore. You can just...
That's such a weird space for me to think about.
Dude, all you need is... the primary check isn't even religion. The primary check is nature, which is wild. You have to be expert in nature. That's it, which is awesome. The other checks are occultism, and the secondaries are occultism and religion. One dead creature of up to 8th level. So if you're higher than 8th level, it doesn't work. So this is only useful in lower level games. What's interesting here, I'm going to skip through some text real quick. As the soul won't be returning to the original body, only a small portion of the creature's remains are required. These remains must have been a part of the original body at the time of death, and the target must have died within the past week. If Pharasma has decided that the target's time has come and passed, you can't do it. Blah, 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 blah. What I think is kind of funny here is the way that it's written. Technically, you could all form a reincarnation pact and chop off your pinkies and put them in jars and have each person hold on to the other's pinky. So you could always reincarnate them later, because it says the person had to have died within a very recent amount of time, but not that the portion of them had to be preserved well. So it's just that the person had to have died. So if you cut off the tip of their ear, or maybe their whole ear, maybe that's a little too much, but something like that, you know what I mean? Their pinky toe or something like that. And you just have it in a little jar, and everyone has a little of the other person's pinky toe, and then one of them dies. You know what I mean? Someone in the other people in the party have that person's pinky toe. You bring it back, you put it in the druid circle, and you reincarnate them as a fucking, Leshy or whatever random shit you roll on the table.
Half elf.
Half elf, exactly. What's cool about the success and critical success is the critical success basically just says they come back with full HP and the spells they had. Success says they come back with 1 HP and they're like clumsy 2, drain 2, and feeble 2 for a week because they're like, this is my new body. Ooh.
Right.
Failure is you fail. And then the critical failure, the target soul becomes trapped in an unintelligent animal creature of the GM's choosing with a level no greater than half the target's level. While trapped, the target has an intelligence score of 1 and can't use any of their own abilities. So imagine like...
You're a pigeon now.
It's like, Jeffrey, no! And Jeffrey's just like the pigeon. And the party keeps Jeffrey with them. And the player who used to play Jeffrey rolls a new character. And he has to pretend, like, what's with the fucking pigeon guys? And they're like, don't you talk about Jeffrey like that. He's so important to us. He was our friend. And we cast a spell and his soul is trapped inside. So I love... The critical failure is just too good, man. Yeah. It's too good. It's too good. You can heighten this, and it basically just raises the maximum level and increases the cost. So you can keep reincarnating until the fucking cows come home. But yeah, so my number 2 is reincarnate.
Jeffrey gets 8.
Hyper useful spell, very practical, very affordable given the circumstances of death, and stuff like that. And it comes with so much fun flavor.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's wonderful.
Yeah, you know what else is ultra useful?
What's that?
the Tianjia World Guide.
Oh, I knew you were going to pick one of these.
Yeah. Well, there's only like 3 to choose from.
That's true. There's 3 or 4.
So
yeah.
I went with, for my my final one, my inverted 5, the Perfection of Essence. It's a 10th level ritual, so you got to be 20 to throw it out there.
Yep.
And I think the reason why it caught my eye was, one, it's a Tianjia World Guide.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, sure. One of the many books I haven't read on my shelf, I will pick it up and I will read it.
Yeah, totally.
It has a new tag I've never seen before called the Trial Tag.
This
trait.
this trait is a mechanic they introduced for rituals that are from this book. This is from a family of rituals that all have a trial incorporated with them.
Yeah, so I didn't know about that until I was doing research for this episode. Rituals with the trial trait extend beyond the initial checks necessary when the ritual is first performed. And they typically have a following condition or set of conditions that must be met before they grant their full benefits. The particulars of the conditions are specified in each individual ritual, blah, 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 blah. So I don't know what's interesting for you guys. Maximum duration is 5 days. I'll just read through it just in case somebody gets value out of this.
This, honestly, it's
its own stat block.
It's maximally cool. So, like, I think you should read it out.
Saving throw, DC 43 Fortitude. You have to make a saving throw in order to make this thing work. So right out the gate, clench your butt cheeks. Onset, 1 hour. Maximum duration, 5 days. Stage 1. Ooh, we're in poison territory.
Yeah, it's like a disease.
7d12 spirit damage. Plus doomed. 1 for 1 hour. Stage 2, 9d12 spirit damage and confused for 1 minute, once every 4 minutes. Plus doom 2 for 1 hour. Stage 3, 9d12 spirit damage and doomed 3 for 1 day. Stage 4, death. This is the progression. So why are we casting this ritual again?
To transcend reality and become the Buddha.
Golconda, my friend.
Yeah.
It's all about Golconda.
Yeah.
Anathema for this ritual is determined at the time of the ritual. You choose 1 anathema, and the GM chooses 2 anathema. You're aware of all of your anathema. Appropriate anathema might include avoiding physical contact with a certain creature or substance, such as members of your bloodline or jade. Eating certain foods, such as meat or grains, or wearing certain items or materials, such as silk or cotton. If the ritual is ended in this way, you must conduct an atone ritual before attempting this ritual again. Let's get to the success criteria.
Hell yeah.
So again, we are trying to gain the perfection of essence. We are ascending. We are doing what Aurori did.
Critical success.
Okay, critical success. Let's start there, because that's the worst. As a success, except you choose 1 anathema and your GM chooses 1 anathema. Okay. Success. You've purified your body enough to attempt to attain immortality. You're bound by the ritual's anathema and must ingest the final potion to complete your apotheosis. Once you've withstood the effects of the poison for 1 day or completely recovered from the poison's effects without outside assistance, you gain immortality as follows. You don't age unless you wish to. You can't die except due to old age. If your dying or doomed condition would increase to a high enough value to kill you, it doesn't increase. And any effect that would instantly kill you instead just reduces you to 0 hit points. If you ever truly die and are not returned to life within 1 year, you descend from the heavens as an adult into a new mortal body somewhere in the world. Great, that's success. What happens if you fail? Your actions don't achieve immortality, and you automatically fail the first save against the poison. Critical failure. As a failure, except the poison is also virulent. You don't have to be a lich anymore to achieve immortality.
Well, you haven't had to been a lich for a while, but this is...
That used to be like the thing. You attain godhood, you become a lich. That's kind of it. And then they came up with 1 or 2 other ways over the years.
Yeah.
This one's, you just got to get in your peak physical condition, and then you got to take a lot of spirit damage and take a lot of spirit damage. And when you're done taking that spirit damage, you got to take a lot more spirit damage.
And doomed.
And be doomed.
And doomed reduces your maximum HP.
Yeah. And it's the Invader Zim of rituals.
Yes.
I am very pleased with this. So I say if you want to go full immortal, ride the pig, girl.
Yeah, totally. That's a great choice.
Yeah.
I love
And it's rare.
Yeah, of course. Can you imagine like your character? Imagine the quest you have to go on just to find this ritual and learn it. Like that in itself is 20 levels worth of questing in the first place.
Yeah, the real reason why I picked this is a stupid reason. This is the Salubri and Vampire. They achieve Golconda. They basically they move up. They elevate to another plane of existence. They transcend. This idea of Golconda is sort of like hard coded into their bloodline, and that's presumably what they aspire to. But there was a massive pogrom against him, back in the Dark Ages, and it came through to modern nights. And it was basically a big, mad trash campaign against them by another vampire clan. And they're like, these guys are soul eaters. They're not here to heal you and to purify, your beast, to tame your beast. They're here to suck your soul, and they're devil worshippers. And it basically got them all but exterminated over the many generations. And so the idea of having like this ritual that allows you to achieve a sort of Golconda state at level 20 is kind of like, getting to the end of your Vampire Chronicle and then taking your shot at Golconda. This ritual isn't unique to Pathfinder in any way, shape, or form. Absolutely. And it's been out there in different mythologies. I'm sure Eastern literature is littered with this kind of story. Absolutely. But I just totally dig that. I love the idea of a new trait, a new tag. Anytime you get one of those, you make me happy.
So normally this trait gives you a free feat. I just want to point that out. I just want to point that out. The trials, they all give you like toughness or like blind fighing or something like that. Not like immortality, you know, but that's like a 20th level version of all of that idea. Exactly.
So, it's the vampire angle that made me really dig that. And when you're talking about the perfection of essence, I mean, immediately we think monk, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if anybody's not thinking monk, they're probably lying to themselves, or they just are thinking that in addition to other things. Right. Like, what would it look like if your oracle had this? Totally. Their curse is their major through line through the entire game. And at the end of that, coming to peace with your curse as a 20th level something. That's kind of cool. A rogue, a very salt of the earth, non-magical, what I can see and touch kind of person, ending their 20 level career with this bad boy. I like the idea of seeing this particular ritual come from unexpected places.
What if like a witch? Okay, hear me out.
Okay.
I've been reading a little too much Deadpool recently.
Okay. Bonus points if there's a skeleton ancestry involved in this.
Actually?
Yeah.
I've been reading a little too much Deadpool recently. What if you're like a witch? Deadpool, in this case. Deadpool's not a witch. They're a fighter. But you get my idea.
Sure.
And they fall in love with their patron. And they want to marry their patron. And at 20th level, they transcend mortality to be in love, to be the husband or wife or partner of their patron, who is death.
Oh, you're in Thanos territory.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Thanos fell in love with death, but so did Deadpool.
Deadpool did too?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I only saw the first one.
Yeah. It's in the comic books. They've never brought it up in the.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. After he gives up on his first girlfriend, he falls in love with death.
Goes for death because
and he tries to exactly, and he has these near misses with death where they meet, but then he has the ultimate rejuvenation power, so he comes back to life. Yeah. And he's trying to die and kill people to like bring death closer so he can fall in love with her. Also, one of my favorite books, like fictional books of all time, is called by a British author, I think. It's called Death, a Life. So Death, a Life. It's like a book written by Death, like an autobiography of the person known as the Grim Reaper, Death himself. And they talk about their whole life from the beginning of time to the end of time and the death of God with a non-capital G. And, I won't ruin the book. It's really short, easy read, but I read it as a teenager and I absolutely fell in love with it. And every couple of years I reread it because it's a super easy, short read. It's like 200, 300 pages.
Nice.
But yeah, it reminded me a lot of that kind of idea of the apotheosis and stuff like that.
And with the whole Deadpool angle, being a non-monk, or maybe he is a monk, I don't know. But it's kind of hard baked into this that
goblins. What class is Deadpool? Let us know in the comments.
He breaks every rule, so he's probably 4 classes.
I mean, multi-class motherfucker.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
quadra class.
Is he a gunslinger?
He's an all slinger.
Yeah, totally.
He's a wall slinger.
He's a gunslinger, but he made pistols a monk weapon. I love that.
Last thing, and then I'll shut up about it. And it's basically that by saying that the GM picks anathemas, you tailor it to the player. So you're not restricted to this because this literally says turn to your GM for further guidance.
Yeah, totally.
And I will always pick that sort of thing over the narrow interpretation of a particular feat or ritual.
Good, because I got a very narrow one for you to close us out.
What do you got?
All right.
Give me practical.
This is...
And on a solid footing.
It's a lucky one, that's for sure. It's called Lucky Month. It's a level 2 ritual. Very, very attainable for almost any person, any player out there. It takes 1 day to cast. Costs a favorite food or drink and a wearable token with personal or familial significance worth 10 gold pieces. So this is a 10 gold entry fee. Primary check is religion. Secondaries are crafting, performance, and society. 30-foot range, 1 creature and 1 object. You imbue the provided token with luck. You choose a single creature within range during the ritual's performance to become the recipient of the token's luck. The creature has access to the token's luck as long as they're wearing the token. If the token is stolen or lost, they lose access to its luck until the token is recovered. The token loses its luck if it's destroyed or if the duration noted in the ritual's effects has elapsed. So, the duration is in the successes, I think. Yeah, it's in the successes. Critical success once per week when rolling a saving throw or a skill check, you use the token's power and roll twice, taking the higher result. Of course, I would pick the fortune effect as the best thing on the table, the best one of the rituals, because arguably it's pretty fucking good. This is a fortune effect. The token keeps its luck for 1 month. Success, as a critical success, except you can only call upon the token's power once during the lucky month. Failure, the ritual has no effect. Critical failure, magical backlash creates ill luck once per week. The ritual's recipient must roll twice and take the worst result for their first significant saving throw or skill check of the week, as determined by the GM. This is a misfortune effect. This ill luck remains for 1 month and applies to the recipient, blah, blah, blah. Can you imagine you roll this to give yourself a cool luck bonus on the regular, and then you critically fail, and you look at the GM, and you're like, I would like to use my hero point, please. No. Wouldn't that be fantastic? So yeah, it's very practical. It's a 2nd level ritual. It's one of the first ones I stumbled upon. And the second I saw a fortune effect, I was like, oh, this has got to be in the top 5 easy. I started sorting them and I was like, it's just so accessible. 10 gold pieces, a 2nd level spell. That means it's going to be pretty easy to cast for anyone. You only need to be trained in religion, not even an expert. So it's hyper accessible, which makes it pretty freaking useful. And I can see this minor luck, a ritual, being done a lot by the players, which means that the GM will have a lot of options and opportunities to kind of stick their nose in with various NPCs getting in the way, or maybe some luck or fortune associated creatures who want to get in on the action and steal their luck or something like that. You know, like some fake creatures trying to steal the token from them because it's lucky. It has luck in it and they're after
I would want this to be a secret rule. Like if I'm a player and I do this ritual, I would want to roll on your side of the GM screen and not know the results until you start showing me the results.
Absolutely. That would be great.
That would drive a lot of people crazy, but that's what I would want.
That would be great. There's another ritual. I can't remember which one, but I remember thinking to myself, this would make a great secret check.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I can't remember what it is. But anyway, so that's my number 1 choice. Very practical, but it's still pretty fun. still pretty fun.
I think I love it and hate it at the same time. It just is numerically great. There's no arguments against that sort of thing. I think it takes the driver's wheel of the car of a game. It makes luck itself a major theme of any story you're involved in,
Totally.
whether you want it to be or not. And if you're trying to play a game that's a little more grimdark, a little more difficult, and then this comes in, it's almost like, wait a minute. During session 0, we said this was kind of, the numbers are the numbers, and this is it's supposed to be difficult. And if all of a sudden we're getting like halflings luck type fortune effects going around, did we all attend the same session 0?
Right.
So I would be careful with this specific ritual in the game, and almost have like a mid-campaign session 0 for really any ritual.
They're all uncommon. You need to. This gives
conversations have to happen.
This gives your DM the option to say no to it very easily.
Yeah, and it not just like no because I think you're going to wreck my game, but just like no. Well, let's talk about this. Yes and or no under certain conditions, because it takes a lot to run a game.
Yeah,
and if somebody's feat choice, if somebody's ritual choice is going to make it the overhead that much higher, that much harder over the GM's head, maybe it's not worth it.
Or alternatively, the DM lets them have the fortune effect, and the GM can use it as a good piece of contrast to show truly how grimdark the setting is. It's like, motherfucker, this is the one fortune effect that you guys have ever experienced. And you can only use it once per month. And maybe the DM adds a couple caveats that like only
be careful when you do it.
Yeah, or only one person in the party can ever have the fortune effect. Like you can't cast this for each person.
Ooh,
in the
I like
party.
that one.
It's only one person gets to hold on to it. Or maybe
and it can't be the same person 2 times in a row. It's got to rotate.
Or and maybe it steals luck from someone else.
Oh, even better.
Maybe one of the participants,
right?
Or maybe someone random.
Yep.
And
the luck giveth and the luck taketh.
Yeah, maybe the luck gets taken from someone that maybe
that is so Loki.
The luck gets taken from someone that they've interacted with in their life. But not necessarily one of the player
or somebody
characters.
they're about to interact with, and it's a fate through line.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, that would be a great like Nordic kind of a thing.
So here's an example just right there.
Again, Loki.
Where you take the spell and you may not like it at face value, but you can twist it just enough to fit the theme of your game. And because it's uncommon...
Shape it. You can shape it,
Shape
Robert.
it. You can shape it. Not twist it. You can shape it. I get twisting as a kind of shaping, I guess. But you can shape it to your...
Ask my nipples. They know the difference.
And this heat, man, I'm all puff, baby. But yeah, like this is the kind of thing that uncommon tag lets you do.
Sure.
The uncommon tag says to your players, go ask the GM.
Yeah.
And when you have to ask the GM, that gives the GM carte blanche to do whatever they want with it as a caveat for saying yes. Because if a player comes to you with an uncommon thing and says, please, GM, can I have this, please? The GM can say yes. And
I like the idea of the bringing it to the GM, not to get permission, but to have the conversation, because that's where the possibilities show up.
Totally.
And if you're going to be playing with each other for weeks, years, decades, lifetimes later.
We've been playing Edgewatch for 3 years, apparently. I had no idea.
Well, not all of us anymore, motherfucker.
That's true. Yeah.
You'll come back. They always come back.
That's true. All right, Goblins. Well, I think that's it for us today.
This ritual is concluded.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. If you can, do us a huge solid. Subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. That would mean a lot to us. We've got a Discord linked in the doobly-doo down below. Come and join us. Be a voyeur on the wall while Eric plays.
You can talk to Adam. You can talk to Kyle. You can talk to Aaron.
Yeah, you can. Well, Eric plays his play-by-post. Chat with us, ask us questions. We're on there all the time.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And
as always,
keep it weird.